Ciarán, so happy to see you. Thank you again for joining us, making the time in this crazy crunch of the end of the year. It looks like I can see a skyline behind you. Where are you joining us from today?
Yeah, I'm joining you from the Sinn Féin head office and my office in Dublin. So that's actually overlooking the Garden of Remembrance in Parnell Square, if people know it, and the Rotunda Hospital. But yeah, it's beginning to feel Christmassy here, which means there's a mad end of year, clear your desk, work panic on, while also trying to wrap presents.
Exactly right. It's the same over here as well for everyone, I imagine. Appreciate you finding the time in this crazy end of the year to sit down with us and give us an update. It's been a month since we had a chance to catch up, and I'm curious. We saw some great breaking news today. Can you share with us some of the developments that we saw today in relationship to the legacy legislation?
Yeah, so the last time we spoke, that this was under active consideration. The British government, as people know and are aware of, passed a bill which would stop families having access to the courts, having access to inquests, and having full police investigations into the killings of their loved ones during the conflict. Completely breaches the European Convention on Human Rights. And they've done so against the opposition of the Irish government, all parties here, victims groups, the European Commission have raised issues with it, human rights experts have, and all of the political parties, but also Irish America were very, very active in opposing this. The British government didn't listen. And so it is now going to be a matter for the courts. And today the Irish government announced that they were going to take what's called an interstate case to the European courts to pursue Britain to end this bill and go back to what had been previously agreed, and also to ensure that the civil rights and human rights of those who have been killed and injured in the conflict are fully respected. The rights to justice, information, and a day in court will still be in hand.
And it really can't be understated how big of a deal this is, right? It is highly unusual, yeah?
Yes, it's very, very unusual. I think that the last time that I can remember an Irish government taking the British government to court was actually over the use of torture in the early to mid 1970s. And the impact of it is also very significant because families could have taken a case, but they have to go through all of the local courts before getting to Europe.
And some have begun already, right? Some families have begun that process.
Oh yeah, but that process could take 10 to 15 years.
Exactly. Yep.
The interstate case could be heard within 2 years.
Yeah.
So before all of the information is lost and that families still have the hope of getting justice. And it's like people's siblings are still alive, so they will have their day in court to see what happened to their loved ones, their brothers and their sisters. Yeah. So yeah, a good piece that we've been pushing for. And I'd like to again thank everybody in Irish America, everybody who supported the Good Friday Agreement, who supports the cause of justice, who called on the British government not to do this, and then called on the Irish government to take this case. So it's been a good day today for that.
Indeed, yeah, unrelenting presence in Irish America. This has been a leading issue for so many Irish American organizations coast to coast who have not hesitated or even paused in their advocacy for this move. So it's really, really good to see. Can we get an update on where we are with the Assembly and the Executive? It looked as though about the last 2 weeks, every day was the day it was going to happen, and then there was something that got in its way and it didn't happen. So tell us a little bit more about what's going on with that.
Yeah, so sometimes it feels like we go 3 weeks with nothing happening, and it's very frustrating, and then a lot happens very quickly. So last week, the British government called all of the parties together to talk about a financial settlement if the government was set up in the north. That seemed to be an indication that there was a degree of movement. There was also the expectation that the talks between the British government and the DUP had concluded on the post-Brexit trading agreement, which was the reason why that was excuses that the DUP had for collapsing government and not come back in again. So the talks started, as always in any financial talks. They came in with a low bid. That was dealt with. They came back then on Monday with a higher bid, but they also made very clear that the negotiations phase was now over with the DUP, and it was make your mind up time. So in some ways, that's an advance, because we were just caught in an endless cycle of behind the doors negotiations. It was unclear what was happening, and the DUP had used this as an excuse not to go back. So it would now appear we have some finality from the British government They have to be very clear. If the negotiations are over, this is a decision-making phase. It's make your mind up time. And that's where we're at. So hopefully the DUP will reflect on that. Will reflect on why having the institutions of the Good Friday Agreement are in everybody's interest and come back into government. But saying that, if we're at the end of negotiations and the DUP still refuse to come back, then there's going to be an onus on the two governments to make clear that they're moving ahead without them, and there's a contingency plan will be required in terms of ensuring the governance arrangements of the Good Friday Agreement are upheld.
Has there been any indication or movement from the Irish government or the two governments in that? Last we spoke about a month ago, and there hadn't been the financial disclosure or the final package offered, nor had the British government declared that negotiations had officially ended. But now that those things have happened, have there been any indicators from the Irish government that their north-south ministerial bodies or any of those other essential elements of the Good Friday Agreement will proceed?
No, we expect that the Irish Foreign Minister, Micheál Martin, will speak with the British government. It might have been actually this afternoon or tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's very clear the phase that we're in, hopefully, should be the end of that talks piece, and it's now decision time. To be honest with you, most people had come to the conclusion that the DUP were hiding behind this process as a way of not making a decision. Yeah. And what they were conscious of was, for the first time ever, they would have to serve alongside a Sinn Féin First Minister in an assembly where Sinn Féin was the largest party and an assembly where there was no overall unionist majority. And that was a very fundamental shift in terms of politics. So there's a large school of thought that believes that unionism are not prepared for that type of equality and that type of sharing. And they were hiding behind these endless talks to not make a decision. The British government says they're now finished. It's decision time. Are you coming back into government? And if you're not, then we need to hear what the alternatives are. We can't be left without government, without operating north-south structures, and without with the Good Friday Agreement being undermined. So, and it's not, as I say, it's not a good news. It's not a good news story. It's not an end point, but it is a further pinch point in the process, which says it's now decision time. And hopefully the DUP will make the right decision and join with all of the other parties as equals in a government. But that remains to be seen whether they're able for that or willing to do it.
And that kind of moves to the next topic I was hoping to speak to you about, because it has, in many commentary pieces you can read, the longer this goes on, the better the case for unity becomes from every side. You can say, wait, this all looks a lot stronger if we can move to United Ireland. What does that process look like? And we look at watching the news from all over Ireland. It appears as though that Sinn Féin is hosting a series of events, working with community members, other people, other community organizations to discuss what Irish unity looks like in these commissions for the future of Ireland. Can you talk a little bit about how that's looking and what those are like? Yeah,
and the starting point for that is part of my response to the last question. And that is, there's been a fundamental change in the demographics and the politics of the North. The North was divided, that there would be a permanent unionist majority. That's no longer the case. We now have an Irish Republican leading the largest party in the North and the First Minister, and that is a historic first. But it's just an indication of those shifts that are happening under the surface in terms of the demographics, in terms of the election. So Irish unity is very much about the future, and it's very much possible with those types of changes. The Good Friday Agreement was not a settlement. It was a set of rules for managing political difference and shaping the future. So it provides for referendums north and south. And if both parts of the island agree to Irish unity, then the island will be united. So there's the movement on the ground. There's the pathway through the Good Friday Agreement, but also a growing section of the people who are looking to the future. So there's a number of civic organisations such as Ireland's Future have been holding events. The Aaron's Project, which I would recommend, which is academics from Queen's, from Pennsylvania State University, from Ulster University. It's now an academic area of study about what a united Ireland would look like, how you would get there, how you manage it peacefully. So in the midst of all of that, Sinn Féin also have launched a group of commissions on the future of Ireland, and it's about listening. It's about going out and talking to people and listening to their hopes and aspirations for a new and united Ireland. They've been held all across the island, and they've been held in Belfast, Derry, Waterford, Dublin, Wexford. There was one actually through the Irish language in Connemara, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. All are available online, but we've also been doing a number of sectoral ones. So we had a group of young people, we had women in Belfast. But we had one that was looking at people from a unionist background about their hopes for the future as well. And that's been a marked piece. It's not about talking to ourselves. It's about inviting as many people into the room to give their views. And that's where the really, really interesting conversations happen. Whether it's young people talking about the future, whether it's the new Irish talking about what sort of Ireland they would like to live in, and why it's people from a unionist background who are just interested or quizzical or just inquiring about what space they would have in it and how they could shape that Ireland. So it's been a very worthwhile community project, and they will roll on. Hopefully at some stage we will look at that going international and talking to the diaspora. But we've a bit of work to do on that, so hopefully that might be something for later in the year. But we are involved, as you know, in the Irish Unity Summit, which we hope which is hoped to be hosted in March, the 1st of March in New York. And again, that is a civic organisation bringing together people to talk about their hopes for the future. So, as I say, it's happening politically, it's happening across the island, it's happening north and south, it's happening in the civic sphere, in the academic sphere. And Sinn Féin are also part of that. We're hosting our own commission hearings to listen to people and listen intently about the type of Ireland they want.
I'll share many links to those commission reports and videos. They're fascinating to watch, particularly because of the way you're describing. The goal is to listen and to create a space for community conversations and questions, and the broad variety of people engaging across political spectrum, across ages, across lived experience is leading to some really dynamic and important conversations. And as you said, those reports and videos are all available. And then more maybe locally to the States here, we are separately and independently of that, part of a group doing something similar to create the kind of space where we can bring together a wide variety of questions and perspectives on discussing what are the next steps, what the hows of Irish unity and what that looks like. We have shared some information. More information will be coming out over the next couple of weeks about that. Stay tuned to our newsletter, to our social media accounts, and to our video updates, when we will release information about who will be participating and how you can get tickets to this event.
Yeah, and I mean, as I say, that's just one initiative, and some people seem to think that this is the sole responsibility of Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin alone cannot, and it wouldn't be right for us to deliver and shape it. And it has to be about a civic piece. It's about the opportunity which has been denied to generations to actually define and build a new nation. And the diaspora is part of that. And that's the opportunity that's in front of us, is to take the best of what went before and crack the things that went wrong and build a new and united Ireland, a home for all, somewhere where it's going to be prosperous, somewhere where Irish Americans and people of Irish descent can return to. As in a united Ireland, our immigrants can return to build a home. So it's a hugely exciting way to be. If I said to you, Greg, you have the opportunity to build a new United States, I think that would energize people.
Certainly, we have some dynamic conversations. Absolutely.
So we would. That's where we are now. We have the opportunity to unite our country and build a redefine a new state.
Well, I can't thank you again enough for finding the time in what is a very busy time. And I also want to take a moment to thank all of the viewers and listeners. Looking back at the year, we have seen these been viewed and listened to thousands of times. We have increased the number of folks receiving our newsletter, and the communication from people who are following along, who are supporting, who are donating, and who are engaged in this process continues to grow. And for that, I am extraordinarily grateful and wish everybody a very happy holiday and hopefully get some time off a little bit.
Well, hopefully we'll get some time off. And you're right. And I'm the one thing that always strikes me about this job, and I would do a lot of traveling and meet a lot of people.
Yeah,
it's the warmth of the
Yeah.
reception you always get. It's the interest of people whose links to Ireland might be very tenuous. They might have visited here or hope to visit here, right through to people whose grandparents or great-grandparents emigrated. But the warmth and the support, and people want Ireland to succeed. They want our peace process to succeed. And they're active on it. And I'm forever grateful, and all of us in Ireland are forever grateful for the supporters of Friends of Sinn Féin, for the supporters of Sinn Féin, for the supporters of Irish unity, and for the supporters of the Good Friday Agreement, who might disagree with us on other peace, but do agree that this is a very successful and working peace process in a world which sometimes can feel like it's in crisis. So we're one good story in the middle of it. So, and I would like to thank everybody for, as I say, looking after us, all the hospitality, all of the work they've done, including yourself and the board of Friends of Sinn Féin. And hopefully we'll get a couple of days off. So
that's right. Very well. Thank you so much, Ciarán, and happy holidays to everyone listening. And thank you again. And we'll talk to you soon in the new year. Thank you.